So now that we know all about carbon and the cool properties that it has, we can talk about the kind of molecules that are found in living things, these organic molecules, and their properties. So this chapter, chapter 5, is called The Structure and Function of Large Biological Molecules, also organic molecules. So all living things are made up of 4 kinds of molecules: carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. And these are found in all living things. Even though life is incredibly diverse, like obviously we are very different than cats, are very different than bananas, are very different than ants, very different than bacteria, but all living things have those 4 kinds of molecules. And these molecules are really big, so we call them macromolecules, macro meaning large. And they're made of thousands of covalently connected atoms. So all of these organic molecules are connected by covalent bonds, which is important. They're not ionic bonds. Organic molecules have covalent bonds. And molecular structure and function are inseparable. So basically what that means is the structure of these molecules dictates their function. So they are able to do their job so well because of the way that they're set up, and we'll learn more about that. So here are some scientists studying macromolecules. So macromolecules are polymers made of monomers. So poly means many and mono means one. So polymers are made of many monomers. And polymers are covalently bonded, like we said, macromolecules. And they are a long molecule consisting of many similar building blocks. So kind of like a really long train, how it's made up of a bunch of different cars. The train would be the polymer, each car would be a monomer. And the building block molecules are called monomers, obviously. And there's only 3 of the 4 macromolecules are actually made of polymers. And we'll talk about why lipids are not, but carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acids are made of monomers. And they're all made from the same process called dehydration and hydrolysis reactions. So a dehydration reaction happens when 2 monomers go together. So if we have 2 monomers and we're going to put them together to start building a polymer, the reaction that makes them is called dehydration. And the reason for that is because a water molecule leaves. And so obviously if you're dehydrated, you've lost water. So we're losing a water through this dehydration reaction. And when we pull polymers apart, so let's say we're disconnecting a train or a car from the rest of the train, that's called a hydrolysis reaction because we have to put in a water molecule. You have to replace the water molecule that we took out during dehydration. So it's basically exactly the opposite. So when we have these dehydration reactions, so here we have one short polymer, we've already started building it, and here's our monomer that we're going to add. What happens is we lose a hydrogen from one molecule and we lose a hydroxyl from the other, and those go together and form our H2O molecule, and then these 2 become linked. So now we have it, now they're linked together. So you can see a little bigger here. So we always lose one hydrogen and one hydroxide. Those form together to form an H2O molecule. We lose our water during our dehydration reaction, and suddenly we have our longer polymer. The opposite happens during hydrolysis. So here we have our polymer. We want to break it apart, break it back down into its monomers. What we have to do is we have to put in this water molecule, split the water molecule, that we return the hydrogen to this polymer, to this molecule right here, and we return the hydroxide to this molecule, which is covered up, but you can see it. So the diversity of polymers. So about 40 to 50 different monomers can account for all of the diversity of life. So 40 to 50 different monomers, single units, combined in different ways, accounts for every single organic molecule that there is. And each cell has thousands of different macromolecules because you need thousands of proteins, thousands of lipids, thousands of carbohydrates, thousands of nucleic acids, obviously, but they're all very different. So think of it this way. So I said there's 40 to 50 different monomers. Think of the English language and think of how we have 26 different letters, and those 26 different letters make thousands of words. It's the same thing with the monomers and the polymers. So we have 40 to 50 different monomers and thousands and thousands and thousands of different polymers, especially because English words, what's the longest English word? Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's however many letters, not even close to thousands, whereas polymers are made of thousands and thousands of monomers, or can be made of thousands and thousands of monomers. So macromolecules vary among cells of an organism, so you and your siblings will have pretty similar macromolecules, be a little bit different than you and someone you're not related to, and so they vary among a species and then even more between species. So we'll talk so much about this during our time in this class, but we can compare protein sequences between species to see how related different species are. Because a protein is going to have the same overall function, but it might have the monomers in a different order. And like I said, an immense variety of polymers can be built from a small set of monomers. And that's all you need to know from 5.1.